Well, hello everyone, and welcome to a Monday edition of the Southside Beat here on the DK Pittsburgh Sports Podcasting Network. Finding a new venue here from Saint Vincent College. I feel like we're bouncing all over the building here, the Fred Rogers Center here on campus. But coming to you live here from Latrobe. Just wrapped up Monday's practice not too long ago. Obviously, since we were last on here, there was a football game played. We will react to that as well. But first, just wanted to welcome you guys, Chris Halicke, Greg Macafee. Um, so Friday night, Texans defeated the Steelers 20-12. It was not a solid performance whatsoever. Kind of obviously DK really hammered that home, but it was not a great performance, and that kind of stuff has carried over into the two practices that have transpired since then. But just before we get into what's happened at practice, your overall reactions to the game Friday night.
I think Mike Tomlin summarized it best in his post game press conference. He called the performance JV pretty much in all aspects. And there was just a lot of negatives. I mean, there was the quarterback to center exchange. There was penalty, two of them. there was penalties here and there. There was just subtle mistakes. There was the muffed punt by Quez Watkins. There was the Joey Porter Jr. pass interference. There was just things kind of all over the place. There wasn't really too many positives. There were drives here and there that looked all right, but there wasn't a whole lot to take away from it. The couple things that we've touched on over the last couple days. Chris dove into getting a glimpse of Arthur Smith's offense. But I don't think we've even seen probably a fraction of it.
Barely scratched the surface.
And then I was able to kind of touch on Peyton Wilson's performance, which in itself was pretty solid. But it was a tale of two halves for him a little bit. I think he got a little tired towards the end of the game. But what we saw early was definitely pretty special. I mean, the first two defensive plays, the special teams play, he kind of pops out and probably saves a touchdown. A punt return for a touchdown, and then the next play. If you guys haven't seen the video, go find it on Twitter, but he basically kind of contorted his body between two or three players to make a tackle in the backfield. Really, really special. So, I mean, I think there was a lot there wasn't really, a whole lot of positives to take away, but, that's why it's the preseason. And that's where we are moving forward. So they're definitely in an interesting spot, I think.
Yeah, a couple of reactions for me, but obviously focused more on the offense. I do think things were better than they initially seemed, at least on the surface, and especially in the moment, just because of the things that you are going to see from this Arthur Smith offense. And again, barely scratching the surface, but stuff like this, like the center quarterback exchange, just pre-snap penalties, other like little bitty things like that. That stuff will be cleaned up. It's obviously not a good first impression, and everyone has the right to react to it and be like, "Oh, is this what we're in for this season? Is a bunch of sloppy stuff?" And actually, I'm going to write about that today. I'm really wanting to focus on this because there were a couple things that Arthur Smith said today, because he addressed reporters after today's practice, and one of them really stuck out to me. And I'm going to get to that in my piece later today, but pretty much it's a breath of fresh air from the Matt Canada offense, and it's not just about schematics or how to attack defenses. It has everything about the process of building the offense. This is a different regime, and so I have full faith that Arthur Smith and the coaching staff is going to work through the kind of detailed misses that we saw, and you're going to see more things that it's going to make this offense better. Is it going to be a top 10 offense in the league, top 5 offense in the league, something like that? I'm skeptical about that. But is it going to be better, maybe even marginally better than what we saw last year? I do think so, just based off of what I know was going into it. And so I do think that I think it's going to be better. Friday night was not pretty. It was ugly, but I think it's going to be okay in the long run. B. Phil says, I can tell why Allen is quarterback 3. He definitely had some bad misses.
Yeah.
The one to Calvin Austin in the end zone was bad. There was another one on a screen to, I think, LaMichael Pirine. That would have been a big chunk, and with maybe even the right running back, that might have even been a touchdown. But again, it's little things like that where, if that's Russell Wilson in there instead of Kyle Allen, then maybe that we're talking about that play completely different because the outcome is different. And maybe if it's Jalen Warren instead of LaMichael Pirine out there, you see what I'm saying? It's about the process of building the offense. So obviously it wasn't a pretty game. They'll get back at it in terms of preseason action on Saturday at Acrisure Stadium. They will have a joint practice with the Bills because they play the Bills Saturday, and then they have a joint practice with the Bills 2 days prior on Thursday at Acrisure Stadium, and we will be there for that. I'm excited about that. But since that sloppy game, they've had 2 practices. Now, I wasn't here yesterday. I had the day off here today. What have been some things that have stuck out to you in the practices that have happened since then? Because obviously whenever you have a performance like that, whether it's preseason, regular season, postseason, you have a performance like that, details are going to be harped on. So what have you seen in practice these last 2 days?
It's just, like you said, it's been a lot of, paying attention to the details, but it's also been Tomlin experimenting with what he has on the depth chart. I touched on in a story last night that, Dante Jackson, Deshaun Elliott, they've minimized a lot of veterans over the last 2 days to give their younger guys a lot of opportunities. We've been seeing Corey Trice a lot the last 2 days. He got a lot of number 1 reps. He got a lot of first team reps yesterday. He got a lot of first team reps today. We've seen
really quick, just Dante Jackson has been held out with training camp like bumps and bruises. That's the way Mike Tomlin described it. Put Deshaun Elliott and Dante Jackson both in that category. So I don't think it's anything alarming when it comes to those 2 players, but they've been getting the past couple of days off, and that, as Greg said, has allowed guys such as Corey Trice to step in and get some first team reps.
Yeah, and so Corey Trice, Darius Rush, those guys have been getting in there. We've seen a lot of Graylin Arnold. Yesterday at slot corner, he specifically took, I'm pretty sure, if not all of them, at least 90% of the first team reps at slot corner. Today was more split between him and Beanie Bishop. So you're seeing a little more balance there. As in Tomlin in general, when he spoke yesterday after practice, it was him minimizing veteran guys to see what type of depth they have and to give those younger players opportunities. So I think that's what we've seen a lot the past 2 days, and just kind of getting just kind of harping on the details. Today was a lot of I think pretty much everything or almost everything in 11 on 11 and 7 on 7 was third down situations. So harping in that, like those type of situations, is kind of what he's been focusing on and what he's been trying to hammer home the last 2 days.
Really quick to go back to the game, because this was a big thing in our live file during the game, and it's even popping up in our comments now. Barber asked here, should Tomlin have challenged any of the questionable calls? And then Joe R comes with a comment and says Tomlin was solid practicing his challenge game. Listen, this is the preseason.
Yeah.
Okay. Tomlin loves to really, really play mind games with a lot of people. I don't think that's what that is, but Tomlin also loves to create adversity. Shoot, man. That's the way he described this thing when camp started and Russell Wilson had the calf injury.
Mm-hmm.
He literally described it as, I wanted to create some adversity for Russ.
Misery.
But it's the same mindset of, okay, I can challenge that. I can look up on the scoreboard and see if Van Jefferson got 2 feet in bounds and had possession of the ball. Everybody could see that. But preseason is also a time in which it's like, okay, listen, the offense has been pretty freaking terrible. Yes, points are nice here, but let's see how they react to a call that didn't go their way, and now they have third down to face. Mm-hmm. How do they react to it? And they didn't get it. So nobody asked Tomlin about it. Nobody's asked Tomlin about it since then.
I don't think it's a big deal in the preseason.
I don't think, I think that just goes to show you that not only have we not asked about it, no other media outlet has asked about it.
Yeah.
Nobody. And so I think that just goes to show that, there's a lot of overreaction to, well, he should have challenged that. It's like,
yeah,
if it's a regular season game, I would bet you a very, very solid amount of money that he would have challenged that play. If anything, Tomlin's too trigger happy when it comes to challenges instead of not pulling the flag out. Of course, there are times where he's probably needed to pull a flag out and hasn't. But and then the other thing that's funny about that is Tomlin is like you talk about like numbers. You can't argue with numbers.
Yeah.
Tomlin's actually better than league average when it comes to challenges, like winning challenges. So I don't know where that narrative has started, but it's funny. But
yeah, I mean, and to kind of play off that point, I mean, with the whole Quez Watkins situation, I mean, he's one of the guys that's been getting a lot of negativity over the last 2 days, and we got a chance to talk to him after practice yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
He's never returned a punt in the NFL. He did it a little bit in college, but we talked about versatility a lot, and he was a guy that was just trying to add to his tool belt. Obviously, it didn't go well, and he kind of spoke on just kind of trying to expand his game a little bit. Obviously, it didn't turn out for the better, so I don't necessarily think he's a guy that's going to be back there once the regular season starts.
He won't be. It'll be Calvin Austin.
Yeah, and you guys got to remember that this is the time of the year to try things out. To just experiment a little bit. It doesn't count towards the regular season or anything like that. So yeah, I just I wanted to throw that in there as well. In case you guys didn't see it in the feed yesterday.
And to that point too, Arthur talked about it. Said there was a heavy emphasis on the screen game on Friday night. That doesn't mean that Arthur Smith's offense is going to heavily rely on screens, right? That's what they wanted to work on. He said there's probably going to be another thing or two that they're going to want to heavily emphasize Saturday night against the Bills. That's just that's part of preseason football. This is not about building a game plan to go beat C.J. Stroud and the Texans, or building a game plan to go out and beat Josh Allen and the Bills. This is about, okay, these are the things we've been working on in practice. These are things we need to see if this can be a part of our offense, or if this can't be a part of our offense, or this guy can and can't be an option when it comes to punt returns, or this guy can or can't be an option when it comes to kick coverage, or whatever it is. That's what the preseason's for. And that's why I think last year it was obviously a foolish endeavor to get so caught up in, the offense is going perfect. Like they batted 1,000 when it came to scoring touchdowns. It doesn't matter, because that defense on the other side isn't necessarily game planning against Kenny Pickett or game planning against Matt Canada's offense. They're focusing on themselves, and the Steelers are doing the same exact thing now. They're focusing on the things that they want to do, and so points or no points, it really doesn't matter. It's all about the process. This is still about the process of installing the offense, installing the defense, and getting the team prepared so that whenever they do go to Atlanta for the season opener on September 8th, that's when they will be game planning to beat the Falcons. And that's when they have to prepare for the Falcons to try to beat them specifically. And so there's a lot of reason to not overreact to what's going on in the preseason, and even stuff down to the challenges and stuff like that. Like, there's just no reason to overreact to it. But I understand it. It comes with the territory. When, first team offense goes out there, you have, center quarterback exchange issues. Like, that's a thing that's got to be cleaned up immediately. If that happens again in the next game, that's where you start to be like, okay, I think I'm allowed to overreact a little bit now.
Yeah.
Let's get to a couple things here. Joseph asks, do you guys see the starters playing a whole half against the Bills, since it's considered the dress rehearsal? Hard to predict at this point, because Mike Tomlin, and he was even asked today about who his starting quarterback is going to be on Saturday, and he was non-committal with that. He would not commit to either Russ or Justin when it came to who will start, and pretty much said that there will be a press conference later in the week. It'll be his normal press conference, and that's when he's going to address what they're going to be doing going into the game. This will be, no matter if they play a whole half or not, but this will be the game in which the starters do play the most amount of time. I would be shocked if we saw anything less than about 10 or 11 of the offensive and defensive starters sitting out in Detroit the next week when they play their final preseason game. That's usually the one where, okay, everybody's kind of taking a step back and let's make sure everybody's healthy.
Yeah.
But this is the game that you would expect to see the starters for the most amount of time. So I don't think you're going to be seeing Kyle Allen come in regardless of whether Russ plays or not, or even if he does play and only plays a series, no matter what it is, you won't be seeing a guy like Kyle Allen coming in probably in the first half. I'd be shocked if that happened, especially if Russ plays. So it'll be the most amount of participation that you see from the starters, most likely. Let's get to a couple of other things here. William, give me a warning. Rain is coming, Chris. I think that was whenever I was talking about the challenge play and everything like that. That's fine. Beafield brings this up too because obviously with the center exchanges, center quarterback exchanges, obviously that kind of threw Nate Herbig into the fire a little bit. And Beafield says, Frazier looked good. Faltanu looked like a rookie. Again, Faltanu had some rough reps. Frazier wasn't exactly perfect, but Frazier did look pretty good for sure.
Yeah.
And he earned first team reps yesterday at practice.
They were a little dialed back today, but he still earned a little bit more today as well.
Yeah, and it was weird because like the way that Frazier got in today wasn't like, okay, Herbig come out and Frazier go in. It was James Daniels come out, Herbig slide over to right guard, and then Frazier go in at center. Yeah. So they're doing a number of different things, and that ironically, that's whenever I've mentioned a possible James, like if James Daniels were to be involved in a trade of some kind.
Yeah.
That's what I figured the Steelers would do is slide Herbig over to right guard and have Frazier go in at center, and that's what we saw today. So, listen, Faltanu, it was one preseason game. He had a couple of good moments. He had a nice block on the outside on a run, I believe it was, on a Najee run, and then he had a couple of rough pass protection reps. It's we don't want to overreact to anything, whether that's Zach Frazier looked good, so now he should definitely be the starter, or Faltanu was rough, maybe they are best keeping him back and letting Dan Moore start at left and Broderick Jones start at right. But I do think that I'll put it this way: Arthur Smith had nothing but good things to say about all three of the rookies, of the rookie offensive linemen, Frazier, Faltanu, and McCormick. But obviously, you were here yesterday. How did you see Frazier react to getting those first teamers, or what he did with those first teamers?
I mean, he looked good. I mean, he was in position. He was doing well blocking and everything like that. I got a chance to talk to him a little bit after practice today, and he's just doing whatever he can to take advantage. I'll have a story a little bit later today on his relationship with Nate Herbig. Sorry, they kind of talked about how. Obviously they both understand that it's a business and everything like that, but they've developed a real friendship off the field. So I'll have something later today on that. But Frazier's looked good. I mean, he kind of carried over what he did in the game on Friday into practice. I mean, no hiccups or anything like that. So he's looked good for sure.
Wow. Okay. So yeah. There's some upset people in the comments. That's fine. Timon here asked for a Trice update. He continues to. So with Dante Jackson out the past couple of days with training camp bumps and bruises, as Tomlin said, Corey Trice has been the starter at the outside corner. He's been the one earning the first team reps. That doesn't necessarily mean that he is definitely that guy, or that guy that we'll see Saturday night. Maybe it will be. Maybe Tomlin, wants to give him, the same way that he gave Beanie Bishop a chance at slot corner or nickel corner, whatever you want to call it. But now we're seeing Graylin Arnold in that spot. Corey Trice, though, is getting first team reps right now with Dante Jackson sitting out a couple of practices. We'll see what happens. The players are off tomorrow. They'll be back Wednesday to wrap up camp here, and then we'll see what happens with that final practice here in Latrobe. Before they wrap things up and start heading back, obviously with the joint practice, and then heading back to the south side. Yeah. I think everybody in the comment. This is the one thing that I'm glad Cody said this. We had somebody in the comments who was like saying that we need to be holding the players and the coaches accountable and stuff like that. And Cody says it perfectly here. Reporters don't hold coaches accountable. Owners do. There you go. That's the answer. It's not our job to hold that. We literally report what's going on, what's happening with the team. give you our, educated opinions on things every now and then, but it's not our job to hold them accountable. It's just not. Let's see here. Anybody have any questions that we can wrap up before we want to wrap up this show? I had to, obviously, some messing with the camera. I had to. So we're literally outside on this little balcony. This little balcony on the in the Fred Rogers Center, and so we're in the sun, and it's sitting on this glass table, and I could hear my computer fan kick on. And so I'm like, man, I just don't want anything to overheat, and all of a sudden we're just we completely stopped recording because my computer shut down. To kind of tease, actually really quick. Okay, here's a question from Stephen A. Any update on Troy? You got a snapshot of him today.
Yeah, I mean he's got like a long black leg sleeve on with a brace over top of it. Tomlin said yesterday they're really optimistic about a quick return for him. He was walking with a little bit of a limp yesterday when we saw him walk by us to go into lunch. Today, I didn't see much of a limp at all. I don't know if you saw anything, but he looks pretty good. So yeah, I mean he had a leg brace on over a leg sleeve on his, I believe it was his left leg, and Tom was optimistic about a quick return.
Hope you guys can still hear us. There's somebody mowing. So the beauty of live podcasting. This won't be a problem tomorrow. Cody has a question here. Besides O-line and quarterback, what's the biggest concern you have for this team? I would still say receiver, to be completely honest. I think Van Jefferson has looked really good in camp. I liked a couple. He had a couple of catches. Obviously, one of them wasn't called a catch, and we kind of already touched on that. But I thought Van Jefferson's, he looked good Friday night. He's had a good camp. Calvin Austin's had a good camp. He had a couple of big catches Friday night too. But I'm still concerned if those are the 2 and 3 when the season begins. To me, that's not good enough. Not to compete in the AFC North and not to compete in the AFC. You need more firepower. Arthur Smith was specifically asked today about having a second receiver, and he pretty much said that, listen, we will tailor the offense to what we have. And I'm sure that anytime I mention receiver, possibly upgrading it, the name Brandon Ayuk comes up. And if they were to land a guy such as Brandon Ayuk, that's a gigantic addition, and you bet Arthur Smith is going to find a place for him. And that doesn't mean that that's going to be in George Pickens' spot. That means that George and Brandon would both be out there. So, listen, they will find ways to use anybody that they get. Receiver is still the big thing for me because, again, not just because I don't think necessarily Van Jefferson are a solid 2 and 3. I think they're a really good 3 and 4. But it also goes down to if George goes down with an injury and those are your top 2 receivers, that's Armageddon when it comes to the receiver position in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh fan 412. I had a feeling about this for a while. I might be changing my tune a little bit, but I want to see what your thoughts.
I changed my tune on Friday during the game. I think there was about 2 or 3 opportunities on the goal line. I can't remember. Sorry, I can't remember what drive it was or anything like that. But there was about 2 or 3 opportunities on the goal line. Coletto went in, and none of them got punched in. I think he came right before the missed pass to Calvin Austin, if I'm correct. So that kind of changed my tune a little bit on Jack Coletto. So I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, unless he steps up really big on special teams and makes an impact. I'm not sure if he's going to make the final roster.
Yeah. So the question is, Pittsburgh fan 412 asks, is Jack Coletto going to make the final roster? I did a 53-man roster prediction or projection. I don't like to say prediction. I like to say projection. The way things are trending, the way things are projecting. And I had Coletto on the 53 at that point. That was a little over a week ago. I've changed my mind. And it's not anything against Coletto. I'm not seeing enough in terms of his ability to be versatile, his ability to make plays on special teams, to be a contributor on special teams when there are guys such as Connor Hayward and Rodney Williams and Michael Pruitt who are more versatile on offense and also can contribute on special teams. I'm not ruling it out. I still think it's a guy to keep on the radar for sure. But if I were writing a 53-man projection, which I will be later when camp wraps, I'll do another one, 3.0. Jack Colotto will not be on it. Not unless somebody like Mike Tomlin comes out and says, oh, yeah, Jack will be on this roster. So right now, I'm not feeling great.
Yeah.
Not feeling great about it. But maybe. We'll see. And plus, he's not even listed as the starting fullback right now.
Yeah, Connor Hayward is.
Yeah, so we'll see. And again, because comes back and says, dang it, was hoping, he would show out better. I think as a fullback, he's looking fine.
Yeah.
But again, you can't have a spot on the 53-man roster for a guy who only plays fullback. You have to, that guy has to be able to do things other than play that position. And contributing on special teams is the best way to get on a roster in today's NFL if you're a fullback. If you could go back in time 5 or 6 years and grab Derek Watt and bring him through, in your DeLorean to the 2024 Steelers now, perfect guy to have on the team. Guy who can play fullback and can play special teams at both at a really, really good level.
Yeah.
But they don't have that right now. So I'm going to say that Connor Hayward and Michael Pruitt might be the leading candidates to be that guy. But I think they'll continue to give Jack a look because they want to, again, it's the same thing we've been talking about when it comes to preseason. They want to get as many looks at something that they possibly can to make sure that they turned over every stone before they start making their final roster decisions and everything like that. Yeah, go touch grass, man. Just go touch grass. William makes a good point, though.
That is a good point.
If I had DeLorean, I'm not picking up Derek. That's a good point. I'm just saying that if you're talking about a guy, he would be the perfect type of guy to be on this roster now in this offense because Arthur Smith likes to use a fullback. He's very open about that. Likes to use one, but that fullback has to be able to do things other than just play fullback.
Yeah.
Okay. Any final thoughts before we wrap up today? Things that are standing out to you, concerns, reasons for optimism, anything like that?
I'm really excited to kind of see, how the quarterback battle plays out, to be honest with you, going through the rest of the preseason. I think it's something to watch. I feel like both QBs have been really impressive at times. And just to kind of see, what they can provide for the offense. I think the thing I'm anticipating the most is what a full Arthur Smith offense looks like in week 1. To be honest with you, I'm really kind of intrigued about that. And then obviously you want to see what happens at center between Zach Frazier and Nate Herbig and to kind of see how it goes and, see who wins that spot. But there's a lot of things to watch. The defensive backs, kind of see how it plays out there and, especially in the slot corner and things. But I feel like they've come, a decent amount of way over the last, week and a half. I was saying earlier, this will be, the last Steelers training camp practice I get to go to because I'll be on vacation next week or later this week, early next week. And you can see how beneficial the environment here is. The atmosphere is when everything is about football and team camaraderie. The teams come together. You can see it in the lunchroom when we go and eat lunch. You can see it on the practice field, guys, chopping it up, meeting each other's families, things of that nature. So you can see just kind of how that benefits the team and how they come together and the atmosphere that they have in practice and everything like that.
This is your last day out here.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So
no more hour and a half drive for me.
Overall reaction to your first training camp in Latrobe.
It's football, man. Anytime you're around an atmosphere like that, like this, I think it's special. And I think it's fun to be a part of as well. It's a we talked about it before. It's a job, but it's also it's a job that's not necessarily a job. But it's been fun. I think it's a unique atmosphere. It's different from going to a facility and covering practice every day. It's you're out in a different type of atmosphere at a college campus. Where you're going to a lunchroom every day. Players are sleeping in dorms. It's a unique atmosphere I think it's beneficial for teams for sure.
Definitely is. It is fun, and this is the second training camp I've covered, and it's definitely it's a really cool experience. And if you didn't get a chance to come out at all this year, there's one left. Like I said, players are off tomorrow, so we won't be doing anything other than we'll be back here for the Southside Beat at 3 p.m. Once again. But then Wednesday, I'll be here to cover the final practice here in Latrobe at Saint Vincent College. It's a lot of fun for sure, but I'm definitely ready to get back on the South Side. That's for sure. We got bees out here.
I got like a spider.
Oh, spiders. That's a different, or at least it's not a lanternfly. Those things are annoying too.
Yeah.
But oh yeah, really quick. The Steelers had their home run derby that they have every training camp, and Stephen A. here says, I heard Fields beat out Russ in the home run derby. Could be a sign of things to come. I don't think Russ actually participated in the home run derby. I don't know that for sure. But yes, Justin Fields did win it. And, it's, either way, I don't think that is necessarily indicative of what's going to happen with the quarterback competition. maybe it is. I have my doubts though. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun being out here. Like I said, we got one more practice to cover. Excited about it, and hope you guys are enjoying the coverage from here. We're having a blast. So, like I said, players off tomorrow, back Wednesday. We'll wrap things up here from Latrobe. But until then, we'll get another show and we'll talk more about the things that we're seeing from practice, more about this team as we continue to go. As we continue to get closer to Saturday's game against the Bills, and maybe, just maybe, there'll finally be an end to a certain saga that is just lingering on and on and on. Maybe that's what we can talk about tomorrow. Either way, we'll catch you guys on the Flippity Flip. See you guys later.
See you later, guys.